right there, you hooligan. I can see you plain as the nose on my face. We've been looking for some troublemakers, some spies. And I was hoping that I might be able to ask you a few questions. First question. Have you ever seen a penguin eating a snow cone? No? Well, neither have I. That was a test question. The next question is, have you seen any hooligans or some funny business, maybe some monkey business going on? Well, maybe you have and maybe you haven't, huh? Well, if you do, be sure to let me know, because we're out there looking for them right now. Well, there you are again. Fancy meeting you. Are you sure you haven't seen any hooligans, spies, rabble-rousers? I hope you keep your eye open for those kind of troublemakers. It kind of reminds me of a story from the Bible. Now that we're in the light and we can see each other a little bit better, I can tell you the story from the Bible. It's found in the book of Numbers, and it has to do with a story about the children of Israel. And we know that in that time, Moses was leading them to the promised land, where God had promised that they would have a wonderful place to live. But there was one problem. There were some other people, sometimes big and strong people, who were already living there. And so they decided to send out some spies of their own. And that's just what they did. They picked out 12 spies to go and check out the land. And so they went in and crept through the land, looking here, looking there, trying to see everything they could see about the land. And what they saw was that the land was really amazing and had some great trees and views and beautiful fruit, wonderful grapes that were in season that time of year, and other really good things. In fact, they said it was flowing with milk and honey. Now, when you think about that, I don't know about you, but it makes me hungry. And I imagine they were hungry after they came out of the desert. But they came back to report. But here's something funny that happened. When they asked for the report, when Moses said, "What did you see in the land?" they said, "Oh, it's a really great land. Lots of wonderful produce. And here's some of it. You can try. It's really good." And there were some other things that they looked at and said, "Wow, there's some really great places for pastures and farms and cities and all of that kind of stuff." But then something changed. Instead of saying, "Let's go do what God has told us to do," and that's to go into that land and take possession of it, instead, 10 of the 12 spies began to talk about the people who lived there and said they were giants, great, big, tall, strong giants who lived in the land, and huge cities that could never be conquered. But there were two of them. Their names were Joshua and Caleb. And they gave a report that said, yes, the land is good, and yes, there are some big cities and such, but God has promised us that we can take over the land, and we should go and take possession of it. But then something else happened, and that is that the 10 spies who were bad and were lying to people went and spread a bad report about the land to everyone in the camp. And so the next day, the whole camp was grumbling and saying, "We don't want to go and take possession of the land." And you can imagine Moses, he was like, "Oh no." You guys are going to not do what God has told you to do. And it was because of those bad spies who went in, but then came back and did not do what God had asked them to do because they were afraid. And they didn't trust that God was bigger than their enemies. Only Joshua and Caleb trusted that God was bigger than their enemies. Now, you want to read more about that story? You can read all about it. It's in Numbers chapter 13 and chapter 14. And so you can read it for yourself. Now, we've got a great way for you to remember this story. And that is to go into the book of Psalms and read a verse that I've got there for you. And let me give you that verse. In fact, just a second, I'm going to get my Bible and actually read it to you. Hold on. Hey, I'm back. And I got my Bible so that I can read you this verse. It's from Psalm chapter 29, verse 11. This is what it says. It says, "The Lord gives strength." Oh, that's great news, isn't it? The Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace. Now, I want you to remember that when you see a big problem standing in your way, something that maybe even makes you afraid, remember that God is bigger. He's stronger, and we can trust in him. And he's going to give us the strength we need to obey him, to do what is right, if we will just trust in him like Joshua and Caleb did, instead of being afraid and running away like the other 10 spies did. And so I want to challenge you to participate this week. We've got some more ice cream cones. Some of you guys are going to earn a whole summer's worth of ice cream cones, it seems, because you've been participating every week, and you'll end up to 3 different cones, which is great. We're so thrilled to see those pictures that you're sending to us of those verses, and you can write down that verse, Psalm 29:11, and you can send us a picture of you holding that verse, and we'll know that you read it and you watched this video, and you can participate in the contest. And of course, as always, we're going to have Becca take us home and tell us how to enter that contest again this week. But before I go, I want to tell you that next week we may have a special surprise. And so I hope you'll come back and join us for one more week after this before we start to meet together again at the church on the 21st. It's been a lot of fun, and we will see you next week. Take it home, Becca.
All you need to do is go to Instagram and send us a picture of your entry in a direct message by Thursday of this week. You can find us on Instagram at NHWC Kids Contest. Well, that's all for today, but we will see you next time.